Bienvenidos loneros de la lona a la mesa de polémica y debate en disciplinas de combates, conocedores de artes marciales mixtas y pues el día de hoy con invitada de lujo. Es un honor con nosotros poder tener a Swayze Valentine, la primera Catman o Catwoman de la UFC. Y pues también saludar a mis carnales Charlie y pues el tocayo Luis. Y sin antes mencionarles que pues este episodio va a estar totalmente en inglés. Pero si lo quieren ver en subtítulos, lo pueden encontrar en nuestro canal de YouTube, que va a estar apareciendo con subtítulos y va a estar toda la información en la descripción. Pero antes que todo, saludar a Swayze. How are you, Swayze?
Thank you so much,
This
guys.
is a
I'm
really
doing
honor.
great. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity and welcome once again, Swayze. This is a great honor to us. I mean, it is very inspiring for us and to know your story and all of what you've been doing in the latest years in the UFC. So thank you very much. It is a true honor to have you here in the show.
Okay, Swayze. Well, I understand that I always ask you the same thing, the interviews that I have seen. You started in 2006. You went all over to an event. To be an event, you were right there. Then you received the call in the February 22nd of 2014. The first call that you received from the UFC to get there. How everything started? How the love to the sport, or how the love to what you're doing right now started? What was the beginning of your introduction to MMA or to the UFC or to this fight game?
Yeah, so it started back in 2006, back home in Alaska where I grew up. And driving said fights. I'm like, oh, it on TV. I've always wanted to check it out. So I went in to see what the next show was. We went back that evening, live show, and I was like, man, this is the coolest experience. Like, being in that atmosphere was just powerful and just intense. Love that kind of atmosphere. I was like, you know what? I need to be a part of this somehow. I had no idea what I was going to do, what role I was going to play, anything like that, because I didn't know really a whole lot about the sport other than fighters. And I'm like, well, I definitely don't want to do that. That's not me. So I waited till the end of the event and I went and talked to like the coordinator is what they called it there, or the director. And he was like, well, what you could do is you could be a ring girl. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And that was pre-children. So I'm like, let's do it. At least I get my foot in the door and I can see what might be back there besides being a ring girl. So it was a weekend long tournament. Was my first ring girl gig at the event. And as I got in like my small bikini and I'm like waiting for showtime, but in the meanwhile I like put my robe on and I go walk around backstage and I see fighters getting their hands wrapped, and I'm like, bam, that's it. Like, there's no greater honor to be a part of this sport than actually wrapping the competitor's hands. Like, what is that? And so I just went home and like Googled like hand wrapping, that sort of thing. And then it would pop up, with like suggestions like cut man, things like that. And so then I kind of put two and two together on like what this was. And initially when I started, I didn't know that a cut man also did cuts, even though cut was in the phrase. I thought they just strictly wrapped hands. So that's where I started. I just started going into my local gyms. I then moved to Boise, Idaho. And I would drive like 60 miles to my nearest MMA gym just so I could wrap these guys for sparring, just so I could like get my hands in there and get to know them and, their camps and things like that. So that's kind of just, and then once I started building, trust and rapport, they would go to events and I'd go with them. I would start talking to all the local fight organizations and, offering my services for free, because a lot of the times these organizations don't have a budget for a cut man nor even a cut woman. They didn't even know what I was. So I do what I want to do, and I want to do it with you. So and I would, drive like 8 hours one way to Vegas on weekends and go to Randy Couture's gym and sit there and get to know the people. you just network, man. That's what this whole industry is about, is just networking and getting to know people. And it was really difficult for me because I'm a woman. They haven't seen a woman do it, and they're like, well, why does she want to do it? Thinking there's alternative motives, all that sort of thing. Beside the fact that I just love it. So that's kind of the beginning in a nutshell, if you will.
Right.
And like you mentioned, you got YouTube. You went to YouTube to find out how to do this. Did you train? Did you try to do something about, like, to get in touch with it, how it works? Who was it that this? What was the experience? What did you needed to do to get it? What did you study, or just was it YouTube? Because if you notice, well, I have lady hands. I don't have any damage or anything, so I haven't been wrapped or anything like that. You should know more about this than I do. But what was your experience and how you got there? What was done?
Well, I wanted to ask Swayze. I know that I read that you got in contact with a legend. For me, a legend, Jacob Stitch Duran. I read his book. I know from when he started, many other cut men rejected him. Like, no, we don't want you here. If you want to start being a cut man, look into it yourself. And he actually went the other way with you. He actually told you, do this and do that. How was the experience talking to Jacob? I mean, like when you sent him that email, because I know you sent him an email, were you waiting for him to say, don't bother me? Or were you expecting what he answered, like, do this, do that, and do all this? What was like your reaction when you got his email?
Well, I was just blown away that he wrote me back and that he took me seriously. I mean, he did initially back up, well, my book, get to learn how to do that. And I'm like, the answers, look at what I'm and sit down and have dinner with you to just talk about it, And so I initially didn't get much feedback from him nor anyone else, because it's a very closed, I don't know. It's you fight for the information you get, But Jacob did help me along the way here and there when he could, and I will always be forever thankful for that. Get that email back from him and giving me some cues. I mean, he was the one that got me my first professional. That was really special. And then with WSOF, so he did help me, accomplish those milestones, and I will forever be thankful.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you.
And Swayze, well, we know that you are a UFC cut woman, but other than that, you actually have a day job, and we would like to know how is a day in the life of Swayze Valentine. Like, I know you're a mom for two kids, and that you basically struggle every day like everybody else in all other countries. But how is it to be a Swayze Valentine for a day?
It's not very exciting.
I think it's very exciting.
And just parent life. I do have and that made like the fight scene difficult, because I work. Technically, I'd have to work on the day that a fight is. I'd have to request time off and that sort of thing. But I post office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I come home and I'm mom. You got to get dinner ready when you get school done. Do all the nightly stuff. Have time to spend time together. Then they go to bed, and then we just wake up and do it all over again in the morning. The only time that we get to, do something fun is on the weekends. And so we make sure to like have, something planned or something to do for the weekend, so we can, just really spend that time together. And I'm huge on the family time with my kids. They'll be like on their phone, and I'm like, put it down. Give me a minute with you. And so it's not super exciting.
Are they fans of you? I mean, do they tell their friends at school, my mom is a cut woman for the UFC?
They do, and my nieces and nephews do as well. And it's so, because I mean, you want your kids and your family to look up to you and think of you as, special being, and they do, and I'm very thankful for that. And I know my boys are so proud of me because I've accomplished something. I've made this, and that's very special and incomparable. I'm proud of what I've done. They're proud of me, and it's fun too because they get to see their mom on TV, and it's, some kids will come up to them and be like, I saw your mom on TV, or did your mom work for the UFC? And like that sort of thing. So, that makes them feel pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. And no, go ahead.
And now that your kids were mentioned, I just wanted to ask you, are they going to follow your footsteps, or they're going to be fighters? They like the environment, like to follow what you do, or do they practice any MMA sport or mixed martial arts?
They show interest on it.
They're gonna follow my footsteps. They did some judo and jujitsu, and they really enjoyed that because their boys like to throw each other around or put each other in chokeholds. So they really enjoy that aspect. But I think with me working with fighters and things, they respect what fighters do, and they're not kids that can stand getting hit. I mean, they're strong boys, but they're sensitive hearts. So I don't think they could. How it's like, they've been around fighters, they know how it's like, during a fight camp, like they know all that stuff, so they have a plethora of information that they're gonna be like, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I mean, for most kids and for all kids, mom is like the superhero, the greatest image of a superhero you can have. And for your kids, it must be actually, I mean, that plus that you're a superstar, So I think it's awesome. And well, as I said, we actually admire that of you very much. And we can imagine your kids actually do feel like it's super awesome that my mom works for the UFC.
Yeah, thank you. It's very special.
And also, I just wanted to know, I mean, going back a little bit to your work on the UFC, what is it that, how is the work inside? Because you're basically with the fighter inside the locker room, and you're actually in the corner, and your job is really important. I mean, most fans would not know the importance of your job inside the UFC or in MMA in general, that basically you can help is that important. You can help a fighter win a match or a fight at least. So how is it stressful, or how is it the work from the locker room? I mean, do you talk to the fighter? How is it for you?
Man, like I said, the environment is intense, especially on fight day, because everyone is like up here, and what's so wonderful about like working with UFC, for example, yes, it's a stressful environment, and obviously the higher you go, the more stress is involved, but they run like such a well-oiled machine. I mean, like you have a certain time you got to wrap, that sort of thing. And so when we're backstage, yeah, it's very stressful, and that's also the job is for everybody, because if you can't work under pressure or under time and things like that, like we have a job to do. Fight safe and get their hands wrapped before fight starts. These fighters have to be wrapped, gloved, and final taped. And a lot of the times when you're back there in the locker room with a fighter, it's usually a lot of fighters in one room with their camps. So it's like this big party almost, and there's music going. But even though there's a big party in the room, every fighter in their camp are in a different place in their head, because you got one fighter that's ready to walk out, but you got a fighter over in the corner that doesn't go out till 4 fights later. And so when you're wrapping one fighter, a lot of the times they're either just super quiet, they got their their headphones on, and they're, or you get some really shaking, nervous, me, and or like it's just another day at the office. It's like they don't even know the fight. And I remember I was asking one of the fighters, I was like, girl, like when you go out there, aren't you afraid of like getting hit in the face? Because I would be. And she's like, no. with. And she's like, no, what really makes me nervous before a fight is what people are going to think about it. And I'm like, I would have never thought that your mind before you go out is just, man, what are the fans going to think, But it's, they're all in such different headspaces. It's neat to talk to each one and see where they're at. And it's just a blast.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
I have a question. I mean, through all of this pandemic that's going on right now and everything, has the UFC asked you guys to be a little bit more careful with the fighters when you're inside there? I mean, I know they have to do with cuts, blood, and all that. What kind of precautions are you guys taking with these fighters when you're inside of the octagon?
Yeah, so the UFC they are high on regulations. I mean, we all have to be masked at all times. We wash our hands. I mean, it's like being in a hospital almost. We keep it so clean. And yeah, we have those regulations. You have to wear a mask. You have to stay 6 feet away. Like when we grease a fighter, when a fighter walks out, instead of us standing, one here and then one here, we got to stand way back here. We have to keep a distance. And then when we're in the cage, obviously as well, everyone's already been tested well before, whether it be the day before, that sort of thing. So we all know before fight day that we're all negative, because if you're positive, they're not going to allow you to go. You're going to be quarantined in your hotel, and that's just that. So we are tested. We're only allowed to enter, the arena if we are all negative, and then we still just take those precautions that everywhere around the world is taking right now with the distance and the masks and those sorts of things. And we already wear gloves, so we're safe.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see, and well, I just wanted to ask, like in this case, I hear you say cut woman, cut man. I just want to know which one is the proper way to call your profession. Like, I understand that normally we find Swayze Valentine, cut man, but well, technically it would be.
I'm not here to change the verbiage, but I'll gracefully take cut woman. But I mean. But I do like cut woman now.
Well, what's the feeling? What's the feeling of being the first cut woman? I know Kim Winslow. I don't know if you met her. She was the first referee within the UFC. What's the feeling of being called the first cut woman in MMA or combat sports in general? I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
I mean, it's. I mean, what do you feel when people tell you you're the first ever woman? I mean, my kids are gonna lick you up. They're gonna see this is the first cut woman in combat sports. What's the feeling?
It's very special, and a lot of the time, even though like I know I'm the first woman, like it doesn't connect, if that makes sense. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's really hard. Only if I sit down and really think about my accomplishments of like, wow, like I'm the only woman, because all I think of is that I get stuff to do, and that's all that I care about. The fact that I'm the only woman is just like, okay, but when I think about it, I'm like, wow, like I really accomplished something, and I am super proud of myself, and I'm glad I never gave up, because I'm telling you, there's many a times I wanted to quit. And it still doesn't get any easier. They think once you get to the top, like that's it, you've made it. But no, you got to stay there. It's easy getting there. You just got to stay there. And it's still a hustle. But I'm honored to be the first woman, and to hopefully make it easier for the other women to come. And that's what's most important to me. If I can help someone follow their dreams, that just seals it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think that's very, very cool, and it's a really amazing story, and it is very inspiring, as I said before, and also because you struggled a lot to get to the point where you're at right now, and you overcame a lot of obstacles that came in your way, and also, I mean, I think basically you made history. Because being the first woman to make or to do a job that usually was done by men is very, very special. And you're, I mean, it's not a matter of you being just a woman, you know. It's you're a person that is doing a job,
Right.
you know. But it happens to be the first time that a woman does it, so I think it's very, very amazing. And I mean, related to that, what would you say to those type of girls that because I know we would love to see not any more top women, but also maybe coaches or as we already saw, referees.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, what would you say to those girls that maybe see you as an example?
Give up. If it's something you love, like, do not take no for an answer. A lot of people told me no. A lot of people still, you know, and it doesn't matter where, I still get told no to this day. But if I keep, you know, listening to the no's, I mean, it's like, no. I remember I was at Randy Couture's gym, and this one old physical therapist that was there, he was like, it was one of the first times I was at this gym, and he was like, so what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, I'm a cut woman. Like, I'm, you know, we were talking, I was telling him my goals, and he just goes, huh, yeah, right. Good luck with that. And like, that'll never. And I'm like, dude, what do you mean it'll never happen? And so I'm like, well, and you know, there's times you want to listen to the no's because it's hard work, and you're like, I just do not want to be let down one more time. Or, you know, I've had my hand wraps cut off right in front of me, or, you know, this one coach saying, no, I can't touch their fighter, or, you know, or they blame you because they lost the fight because you wrapped their hands, although I didn't put them in a choke. So it's like, in the sport, so maybe that's it. But just never give up and an answer. Like, if you want something, you go for it, and don't stop till you get it.
Awesome.
And what were you mentioning about this coach that said that he wanted not to wrap his fighter's hands? Do you still encounter any sexism in this case? Like, do you still have coaches that don't want, or fighters that don't want you to wrap their hands? Do you still encounter this type of sexism?
I still encounter it everywhere. It took me a long time to gain people's trust, and then it's also, there's religious reasons too. You know, there's some religious reasons that a woman can't touch a male or things like that. So, you know, I'm not told no as many times now as I obviously used to be, but yeah, there's still challenges no matter what organization I work. You know, it's like I said, it's still a hustle, you know, whether it's UFC or whether it's Invicta or Bellator or any of those, it's still a hustle, even though you're inside there. And like I like to tell people too, it's like, it's not just a fight inside the cage, you know, you got to fight outside too. And I still deal with struggles today, no matter what organization I work for.
Yeah, and pretty much it's very cool that you're also traveling around the world with the UFC. So, and I wanted to ask you about it. Have you ever been over here to Mexico or worked with Mexican fighters?
Yes, so I've been blessed to travel with UFC, and I did 2 shows in Mexico City, and I loved it. That was where I had probably my worst cut too, which was Leslie Smith here. I don't know if you saw that one. She was fighting Jessica Ai, and she hit it, and the cauliflower ear just exploded and totally cut her ear wide open. And the doctor decided to stop the fight, even though I was in there, and I stopped the bleeding. Leslie wanted to continue, and the doctor's like, no, you can't, like, your ear's gonna fall off. She's like, I don't care if my ear falls off. And she wanted to go back, and Jessica was like, I'm just gonna keep hitting her till her ear falls off. But so yeah, Mexico City was one of my most memorable events, because that was like my biggest, you know, cut I ever had was there.
The biggest challenge. Would you say that was the biggest challenge you faced?
Yeah, cut wise, that's one of I mean, because again, it's my job is to get the fighter to the next round. So even if a doctor calls off, it's a little bit of an ego, you know, bummer. But I stopped and she's good. But I mean, they're looking for things that I'm not even looking for. So they're looking for they got the degree, they get the big money.
Have you ever been the cut woman for a Mexican fighter? I mean, I know that you guys are set. You don't. It's not like boxing. You don't go to individual fighters, or they hire you for that. I know that you get a corner, right? The blue or red. Have you ever had a Mexican fighter? Have you as a cut woman?
Oh yeah, a lot. I can't even name. I mean, we have a lot of Mexican fighters, and I want to say almost every card or very close to it. I mean, yeah, and usually when I start, I'm usually cage side first. So I get, maybe like the first 8 fights, and there's definitely gonna be Mexican fighters in there, and because they're just badass and just, but.
Has any Mexican fighter or coach been mean to you? Like, have they been like, no, I don't want her to wrap my hands or anything like that?
No, it's actually never been the fighter that's been mean to me. So all the fighters are just glorious. And if I have any issue with anybody, it's going to be someone from the camp. So, but not every fighter, man. The fighter's there for one thing and one thing only. They want their paycheck. They don't care who's touching them. So, no, man. Every fighter has just been so wonderful.
Have you ever spoke with Dana White directly about the camps, coaches, trainers being, I'm going to use the word dicks with you?
You know what? I haven't spoke directly to Dana about it. I mean, there's been quite commotion that's gone down, but we have blue shirts that are back there. They're the executive stakeholder there. And they have come to my rescue many times, and they protect me to the dickens, man. Like, I feel so safe in the UFC environment that, like, if anything goes down, they go in and they just stop it right there. They squash it. And what's so cool, too, is, like, I'm going to have run-ins no matter where I'm at. And there's this one coach who just refused to let me touch his fighter. He says, no, I don't know you. I don't want you touching him, blah, blah, blah. Gave this big old fiasco to where people had to get involved, and I just left it be. I respected his position, and I left, and I continued my night. And then I ran into him again in the same locker room, but he was watching me with other fighters in the room, watching me wrap their hands and stuff. And he came up to me after, and he stopped me in the hallway, and he says, you know what? He says, I want to apologize about how I acted. He says, I saw your hand wraps. He says, and I would hire you for every single one of my fighters. So it just was like, gave me goosebumps, like, dang, and that's one thing too. Sometimes if a camp is like, no, I don't want you to wrap my hands, I usually will look at the fighter and I'll be like, hey, let me wrap your hands. If you don't like it, let me know and I'll cut them right off, and your coach can do it. It's like, just give me a chance. Like, you don't even know what I can do. Like, just give me a chance. If you don't like it, I'll cut it off, and here's some gauze for you.
Have you ever had a fighter like pick you? I mean, I know the UFC doesn't let that happen, but I know Stitch used to be Josh Barnett's cutman and Fedor Emelianenko's cutman, and they used to take him to Japan just so he could wrap their hands. Has anything like that happened to you with a specific fighter? Like, hey, I want you to come with me because I'm going, I don't know, to Brazil and I'm going to fight, and I want you there?
Yeah, that has happened. UFC and other events. A lot of the times when we go to an event, we have our bout sheet, and it will have, people who special requests by our names. So meaning that fighter requested us, and we will be the ones to wrap that fighter's hand. For cage side, we'll have someone come out and relieve us to go and take care of that special request. Yes, and I have gone to a few events where I have been specifically hired for that fighter. So yeah, and that's like one of the best feelings
ever.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And Swayze, I have another question. I mean, related, talking about specific hand wrapping. As you know, and as you can see here, I'm more of I actually go towards boxing. That's what I practice. And I do know that there's a difference between hand wrapping for boxing than for MMA. I mean, is it difficult, or was it difficult for you to learn this, or is it that much of a difference?
So it's really not a huge difference. There is difference. really the main difference is the pad, whether you're doing Muay Thai or boxing, because you wear basically the same glove. The pad on the knuckle pad will be a lot taller because you got a lot more glove to fill. And also the hand wrap will go up higher on the arm if you're doing boxing or Muay Thai versus MMA. So you obviously MMA cut off at the wrist or, a little above. So our hand wraps cut off there for MMA, and then boxing, Muay Thai, you go up halfway at least up the arm to support, the entire boxing glove or Muay Thai glove. So those are really the two main differences, but depending where you're at, some boxing coaches will still wrap, a boxer's hands with, that doesn't go up half the arm. It might look like an MMA wrap, you know what I mean? So it's kind of preference. I like to go up high because I support as much as I can of that whole arm. And then, but that pad for sure has to be taller because, you just have way more glove to fill.
Right. And regarding, maybe to name it somehow, personalized hand wrap, because I know some fighters like it tighter, others like it looser. And does anyone have you ever had any special requests from a fighter towards hand wrapping?
Yeah, absolutely. And the requests are all over the board. Usually when I sit, my first question is, do you want your thumbs wrapped? Because a lot of fighters don't. They don't want to feel restricted or anything like that. And sometimes when their thumb is wrapped, that's just how they feel. Maybe they just might not had it done the way I do it or whatever it may be. But so a lot of fighters don't want their thumbs wrapped. So I'll either just do the hand wrap without the thumb, or if they do want to wrap, then I'll include the thumb. I definitely prefer to include the thumb in a hand wrap because it just holds it all together and it protects that thumb from being broken, which is really important. So, so a lot of fighters, like I said, they want the thumb wrapped or they don't want it wrapped. They don't really want it super tight, or they'll say, I want a really loose wrap. And just all over the board. Some are like, oh, I need, I sprained this finger in training, like I really need to make sure that that's okay. And so those sorts of things. There was a fighter on one of my last UFC cards who broke his hand 5 weeks before his bout, and then he just a week before he sprained his middle finger, and I'm like, oh geez, to be honest, I was nervous wrapping him because when someone has a prior injury and they're in the big wrapped them, and then they come out and look on the injury list and you see your fighter on there, you're like, oh my God, please don't tell me you broke your hand. So when someone has a prior injury, I just really focus on padding that up and pulling it in and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot involved in hand wrapping. And I know a lot of people ask, well, what do you got to do to be a cut man? Because a lot of people, they want to be a cut man or a cut woman, but they just want to be in the cage. And it's like, no, you got to learn wrapping first. That's the baseline. Like if you can't wrap hands, you can't do cuts, or a lot of people think just doing hand wraps is just putting gauze and tape on. It's so much more than that.
Great.
That's awesome. Swayze, I wanna ask you a question outside of MMA. And ever since I saw your name for the first time, I don't know if it's true or not. I just want to ask, did your parents name you after Patrick Swayze?
No, well, technically, yes.
I knew it.
I thought the name was cool. That sort of thing. Wish I could say he was my uncle and I inherited the name, but it's just not. But yes, so technically named after him, for sure.
That's awesome. I love Roadhouse, so that's awesome.
What's so funny? Because people in UFC or whatever, they'll call me my nickname. They'll call me Roadhouse. There's a few fights. My name is just Roadhouse to them.
That's a really badass nickname,
Exactly.
Roadhouse. Yeah. That's really cool.
That's
amazing.
Well, Stacy, thank you very much. I understand that you have another interview right now. Thank you very much. It has been an honor. This is our first international interview, and it was really awesome. So thank you for that. I have been interviewing other type of interviews, but not like you, this special. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity to be in our show and be with us and talk about to all the Latin American fans. Thank you for that. And well, I don't know what else to say. That it has been an honor, and I wish you the best. And well, I just would like to ask you for a special request. If you could say hello to Ariane Celeste or Britton Palmer, please, for my part. Just say hi when you see them, please.
Love you guys.
That would be perfectly nice. And, well, thank you. And I don't know, something else my friends would like to say. Thank you very much.
Well, no, basically, thank you very much, Swayze. This has been a great honor for us to meet you and to have this chat with you and for you to join us as our guest. We would love to do this once again later on. And I don't know, maybe if there's something you would like to tell to your Mexican fans.
Oh gosh, I just want to say I love Mexico. It's one of my favorite places I have ever visited. You guys are the most nicest, kindest people, and the culture is beautiful, and I love you guys. And I hope you guys stay MMA fans forever because we just adore you. Thank you so much for giving me a platform to tell my story, in hopes that I can inspire people to do what they love to do and to give the people in black in the back a voice. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Swayze.
No, thank you, and thank you for being with us. Really, you're an inspiration, not only for women but for men also. Yeah. And hopefully we see you soon. And if you're ever in town, let us know. We'll give you the guide tour. Bring your kids. I have 2 kids of my own, so yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, well, you have 4 homes right here over in Mexico.
So much that now we have to make a trip.
That would be perfect.
Whenever you want. Thank you very, very much, Swayze, and good luck to you. And congratulations for all of your achievements. You're a big inspiration, as we already mentioned. And, well, thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Swayze.
Ok, luneros, pues muchas gracias por haber escuchado el podcast. Recuerden apoyarnos, regalarnos un like, suscripción. Toda la información de las redes sociales de Swayze y de nosotros estará apareciendo en la descripción, así como en el video, para que lo chequen. Carnalitos, ¿algo más que quieran agregar antes de despedirnos?
Nada, muchas gracias. Espero que nos sigan en nuestras redes sociales. Síganos. Estas entrevistas son por ustedes. Espero que les hayan gustado. Yo sé que hubo muchas fallas técnicas. Desgraciadamente no es algo que nosotros tengamos dentro del alcance de nuestras manos, pero espero que les haya gustado. Vamos a traer más sorpresas, estamos buscando más entrevistas y muy pronto van a tener muchas noticias de nosotros. Síganos.
Sí, y sobre todo, no dejen de suscribirse, no dejen de apoyarnos. Digo, la verdad es que todo esto lo hacemos de fans para fans. Estamos, ahora sí que buscando tener contenidos que sean, pues no nada más del deporte como tal, de hablar de los eventos y demás, sino de pues, lo que a uno como fanático le llama, ¿no? Que es justo este tipo de entrevistas con Swayze, por ejemplo, de pues qué hay detrás de, ¿no? O sea, qué hay en el Inter, qué es lo que pasa, o sea, la importancia del trabajo de un cut person como lo de Swayze, o sea, entonces ese tipo de cosas que a nosotros como fanáticos nos llaman mucho, y pues compartirlas con ustedes. Y sí, o sea, coméntenos, síganos, digo, ahí por ahí nos han estado apoyando mucho en Facebook, en YouTube también nos han comentado, muchas gracias, suscríbanse y también denos sus ideas, si quieren que hablemos de algún tema en especial, también si tienen gimnasios, si hacen mentoría de deportes, de combate, y necesitan difusión.
Vamos a estar poniendo el correo, de la lona a la mesa. Mándenos un correo, díganos, saben que este es mi gimnasio, yo soy el entrenador, los buscamos, los entrevistamos para que promocionen sus gimnasios ahorita que gracias a Dios estamos en naranja. Aún así no se descuiden, no salgan, pero se van a comenzar a revelar muchas cosas. Mándenos un correo, nosotros les marcamos o les mandamos un correo, hacemos una entrevista, promocionan su gimnasio, dan sus redes sociales. Este programa es específicamente para ustedes, para que ustedes promueven todo lo que ustedes tienen, sus gimnasios, sus academias, sus dojos. Mándenos un correo, va a estar saliendo. Esto es para ustedes. Esto que hacemos es para ustedes. Aunque estemos en naranja, no se descuiden, por favor. No se descuiden.
Abusados porque luego ven que es naranja y la banda piensa que es verde y andan.
Sí, no. Y eso nomás Chiapas puede, ¿eh?
No se descuiden, banda, no se descuiden.
Mándenos mensajes si quieren que entrevistemos a alguien. Mándenos mensaje, busquen si quieren que entrevistemos a alguien. Y si está dentro de nuestro alcance, como saben, pa' cañón, pero haremos todo lo que podamos para buscar esa entrevista y se las daremos con gusto.
Y no, adelante.
Hoy, UFC 258.
Bueno, para ustedes ayer, que este programa lo vamos a subir el 14 de febrero. Feliz San Valentín a todos, por cierto.
Exactamente.
Con sana distancia, por favor, no la vayan a regar.
Con cubrebocas, pásensela con cubrebocas. Y pues muchísimas gracias por el apoyo. Recuerden suscribirse, regalarnos un like, dejar comentarios, seguirnos en las redes sociales. Ayudaría mucho.
Un saludo a nuestro compañero Vic, no nos pudo acompañar hoy.
No nos pudo acompañar por razones de trabajo, pero pues saludos todos.
Saludos Vic, abrazo. Hasta luego.